All right, we're here, the Smarter Sculpted Physique podcast, and I'm thrilled, happy to bring on board Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan. Ryan, thanks for being with us today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for reaching out, Scott.
And you know what? I reached out because I want to start giving some airtime to people I think are really, truly authentic and doing good work, reliable work, presenting responsible dialogue and arguments without needing to have a bad attitude to do so. And, like I told you offline there, I was a pretty ticked off at some of the things you've been going through lately, just from trying to deliver a message of objective research, et cetera, et cetera. So for my audience, Happy Healthy Vegan pretty much says who you are and what you're about. But I want my audience to get on board with your YouTube channel and check out some of your past clips. I think I first came across you when you were on the television show The Doctors. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. That was, I think about 3 odd years ago. They're basically doing an episode dissing bananas. Like I guess a thing called the banana diet was kind of popular at the time. We never did it, but people were just mono dieting on bananas, and we were the closest they could find. They knew that they got wind of how I did 10 banana smoothies and stuff like that. So I guess we were on to represent the pro banana side.
Yeah, no, and I remember that, and I remember just being shocked at how
ignorant they were.
Yeah. I mean, they're hosting a TV show that goes out to millions of people, and they were so ill-informed. It was just, I was like, seriously, you're still about counting calories? And it was just mind-boggling. And again, even back then, you guys handled yourselves, I thought, brilliantly, given what you were having to deal with. But
yeah, thanks. We had no idea what we were in for. I never watched an episode of them. I knew who none of the doctors were, and yeah, it was just we just went in there fully raw, and it's like, wow, we're just kind of like tripping, like, wow, what's up with these 4 weird doctor people?
And you know what? And that, I think that brings me back to the first point when I introduced you. When you're truly authentic in the way you are, and Mike the Vegan is, and what I've always tried to be, you're prepared. Even when you're not prepared, you're prepared because you're not offering anything phony. So you're just giving a genuine sort of,
yeah, what we did on The Doctors is kind of like a glimpse of and what we do on our channel. We share our personal experience. We make it really clear. We're not like, medical doctors, certified nutritionists, or anything like that. We just share what we've been doing. And we also share the scientific research of others in an objective way. We respond to anti-vegan nonsense, like with the doctors, how they were responding to us, how you can get cardiac standstill from eating bananas. And, so I just try to respond in a rational way. I never do personal attacks, ad hominem attacks, even though the anti-vegans, as you said, love to do that about me. You're referring to that recent video of mine where they said veganism made me go bald and lose my eyebrows.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. I want to. Okay. I don't know if we want to start with that or finish.
Yeah. Let's not start on a negative. Great idea.
But I do have some helpful stuff there that I wrote down because it got me, and you've been dealing with that for a while. I'll tell you, one of the ones that really was an embarrassment to me because of the industry I'm in and what I do for a living was I call him Dr. Meathead, or former Dr. Meathead.
I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah, former doctor. Yeah.
Yeah, Doctor. I think you call him Dr. Faker, or
Yeah, yeah. Since he likes to rhyme people's names and be really lame about it, so I thought I could play that game.
But it was just an embarrassment to me because basically he was saying, if you don't look like you lift weights, then you're not worth listening to. And I was just like, oh my God, if that isn't the biggest stereotypical macho bullcrap that, you don't know much about my background, but when I was in hardcore bodybuilding, my emphasis was all about physique as performance art. It was like your guitars and stuff in the background. I've always said that sport, like music and art, is a form of human expression, what separates us from the animals. And I can't play an instrument, I can't sing, and I can't draw or paint. So for me, it was doing something with the human body that I always thought fascinated me. And then
A
but I've always
beautiful
been,
approach. I love that.
yeah, but I've always been up against this macho bullcrap attitude where guys with really tiny, tiny egos take up getting bigger to sort of hide their insecurities. And then when he came out and he was insulting you and insulting Mike and insulting anybody who didn't work out, like somehow you're not worth listening to if you don't
I
look
mean,
like
I work out. I just don't work out in the same modalities and
that.
ways that he does. And it's not just bodybuilders that do this. I won't mention this certain YouTuber who's a cyclist. And a few years ago, he was saying the same thing, but you had to be a cyclist. You had to climb mountains on your road bike. That was the only sport that had any validity whatsoever. So if you're a runner, a shot put thrower, a ballet dancer, swimmer, those sports were all invalid and insignificant and didn't matter. So it's just really self-serving and convenient that the sport that people themselves happen to be in happens to be the one that they think is the one true sport that measures either manhood or fitness.
Yeah, and there's two things that I always talk about in a lot of my podcasts is that we try to watch and guard against is there's what I call paradigm blindness, which we're referring to, but there's also paradigm bias, which like what you just referred to is that my way of doing things is the only way of doing things because I'm the one doing it. Therefore, my methodology is correct, and anything outside of that is a waste of time. Which
how convenient.
yeah, I mean, like you said, you're into fitness. The fact that I mean, hell, I would put. I'm actually older than you, and we're both in our 50s. And the book behind me, you see Physique After 50.
Yeah.
And the one beneath that, the aging proposition, I use a term in there called the Platinum Club, because anybody over 50, I want to get past this phrase, the golden years, and say, screw that, let's go to something more valuable and call it Platinum Club. So that's kind of like what I referred to there. And I know your form of fitness, if I was to try to play one-on-one basketball against you, watching your clips of you playing, I mean, I would be out of my league, right? So for someone,
Probably.
oh no, definitely, I am the epitome stereotype of the phrase "white man can't jump." Trust me, you would need a microscope to measure my vertical leap. So
I was just at the gym today playing basketball. Just three of us playing, and I won both games. And they were both younger than me, I think.
Yeah, no, I watched your clips, and you said, recently you just undertook, and we're going to post this. I'll put the YouTube clip up right now. Actually, you underwent some training so you could dunk a basketball, right? And we got the video proof of that. So
yeah.
How long did that take you? And you did that after age 50, actually.
Yeah, I started, when I was about 50 and a half, the idea came to me. I've done, and I played many sports throughout my life, and basketball is the one I go back to, like in childhood. I kind of gave it up for most of my 40s, but I started playing again a few years ago. But before that, I was running. And when I was running, I really learned a lot about training, how to structure your training, how cycles work, like how a week works out, and how that plays into a month or two to work towards goals. So when I got back into basketball, after a while, I said, I'm going to apply what I learned about training into basketball. Specifically, I wanted to see if I could dunk again. So I just started. It took a year. It was basically a year-long project, a little bit over a year, to kind of pretty much transform my body from that of a runner, because I was running for like 5 or 6 years, into a different kind of athlete's body, and just to see if I can do it. I didn't even know if I could dunk at age 50 or 51. I mean, I wasn't even a dunker when I was younger. I just barely got it in a couple times, like 20 odd years ago. It wasn't like a consistent thing. I was never one of these gifted dunkers who's trying to later on in life. So it was a big challenge I was up for, just to see what was possible.
And you got it done, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of hard work. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, actually, just trying to figure out what kind of training I needed to do, and then doing it, absorbing it, recovering, and just figuring out what was working. But yeah, it was hard. And I finally started dunking in May, basically a little over a month ago.
We're gonna post that video clip. You'll send that to us, and we'll post it up right now, actually. So so all right, let's get into some other stuff that you're well versed in. I'm well versed in, but so you're a happy, healthy vegan. What was the biggest surprise for you after your conversion to whole food, plant-based, like strictly vegan dieting? What stands out as a spontaneous response to that question? Like, what was your, wow, this is what?
Well, first I got into it because of I was just into the idea, not into, but I was like fascinated by the idea. Like, wow, I've been taught my whole life there's a circle of life and death and all this stuff. You got to kill things, and I was, when I discovered that you didn't have to eat animals and you could just eat plants and not only just like be healthy, but like really like thriving. So once I got over that, once I started noticing that after I was eating that way for a little while, I forgot how much time exactly, that my recovery times were like better. Before that, I was going, oh man, getting sucks old, like like injuries took longer to heal, cuts took longer to heal, just everything. But after a while, I started noticing, I'm recovering like way better now. Than like like sort of like taking like 15 odd years, 20 years off the clock, maybe.
Yeah, and then yeah, I can relate to that. And even with the books I wrote behind me, Physique After 50 was before my own conversion into the complete vegan diet and stuff. But I also wrote a follow-up book, Lean Without Trying, the 6-day vegan diet, for people to transition to a vegan diet by leaving a 7th-day option, so it didn't have to be so all or nothing. And the point there is for the people at over 50 who have coaching, who have transitioned to a plant-based diet. I mean, the results are just friggin' unbelievable, right? I mean, they're just like, and yet it's hard to get people to buy in on a philosophical level sometimes. But the ones who have, I mean, just and like yourself, in my Lean Without Trying book, I shared my blood work as well, which is pristine to say the least. And I know you've done the same. Tell everyone a little bit about that. Like, you share your blood work. There's no secret there. So
put it all out there. Roughly every 12 to 18 months, I'll get new blood work done and put it up there for all to see. You're not deficient in things. People say, oh, vegans, are naturally deficient in B12. I mean, my levels are like, I put them up there the last 2 times. They're like in the top 95% of North Americans B12 levels.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, and mine are as well, and I don't even supplement it. I mean, I had
wow.
Yeah, I had T. Colin Campbell on my podcast, and he's never taken a supplement either. He said and he's just writing his next book at age 84 or 85. So I was just like, giddy up, like and Dr. Ellsworth, you remember Dr. Ellsworth Wareham? He just recently passed at age 104, but he was still working as a doctor in his 90s. And
okay, yeah, I definitely heard about him. Yes.
Yeah. So one of my challenges to the anti people out there is, show me any keto person who's still functioning in his career at age 80 and 90, and I'd love to have them on my podcast, but even Dr. Campbell said, well, they're likely dead. Which is absolutely true. So what surprises you most about when people hear that you're vegan or whatever? What reaction leaves you scratching your head the most? And I know we're going to get into, I mean, lately, the kind of reactions you've had to deal with are absolutely ridiculous. But
in person, I represent a lot at the gym. I'll have some vegan basketball jerseys or whatever, and it strikes up some conversations. And surprisingly, I guess now, because it's 2019, people have heard about a lot of vegan athletes. There's pro vegan athletes in essentially every sport, including basketball. I've just discovered a new one today. But people are open-minded about it. They're not getting all defensive or offensive or anything like that. They usually ask a few questions. I'm more than happy to provide answers to them, but I don't get preachy or anything like that. I think a lot of people are already, I wouldn't say converted, that's too strong of a word, but there's much more open-mindedness now in real life, one-to-one, meeting people. Yeah, online's a different story altogether, but yeah.
I want to get into that. I won't get into it right
But,
this
but
second.
I don't want to get too negative. But online, yeah, there's much more open-mindedness there than ever before, too. The flip side is, yeah, there's more haters now than ever before. But those people are usually cowards. I don't ever have haters come up to me in real life, no matter if I'm at the gym or at a vegan festival where people know we're going to be there. They just don't show up. They like to hide behind the computer keyboard
Yeah.
or their phone.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to hold off on that. But one of the other things about this that is a common denominator that a lot of people don't realize is even in my whole career, which is physique oriented, right? Physique transformation for clients and whatnot. But my own career trajectory from my first contest in 1983 even till now, there's only been a couple constants, and the one constant has been a carb-based diet. Even when I was omnivore, my diet was carb-based. And for everyone listening, Ryan has some pretty cool T-shirts that says "Keep it carb, baby." So you want to get on there and get one of those? That's cool. But
Man, that's actually the title of our book too. My show partner, my wife Angie. Yeah, it's the title of her book, Keep It Carb, Baby.
And of course we'll put the link in for that as well.
Here's what it looks like.
There you go. He's got it handy.
Just whole food plants, as you see here. A lot of people think carbs mean Twinkies or donuts. No, we're talking about whole food plants. Well, Scott, what we're talking about.
Yeah, and it's ironic because I was just looking at some research a couple of weeks ago that said the millennials, the macronutrient they fear the most is carbohydrates. So they're on a trajectory for some real intense future issues, I think, health-wise and stuff.
It's all macronutrients are fine. There's no evil or bad macronutrient. They're all essential for life. They're all good for us. I don't know why people would fear carbs, and fat and protein are cool. I don't fear any macronutrient myself. Completely agnostic. They're all cool they're all cool macronutrients.
That's an interesting way of putting it, agnostic. That's because I've talked about nutrition as religion before, nutritionism being sort of everyone gets into their different camps and stuff, right? And it takes on a sort of religious, oh, he's a non-believer, or that person's a non-believer. And it's funny that with this day and age, we can, academia has sort of caught up with social media. So we have people like Dr. Greger and, they're a heavy influence online, but it's amazing that it still doesn't, that kind of presentation of objective research, it still doesn't make a dent with a lot of people. I don't know if you saw on plant-based news recently, there was there was supposed to be a debate between the plant-based doctor and
that other guy, yeah, Bart, whatever. Yeah, that didn't happen though, I thought, right?
Well, this was between the dairy representative, and I mean, it was just ridiculous. I mean, he must have presented in his little time period for the plant-based, he must have presented like over 100 pieces of research, and all she came up with in response was,
Nina Teicholz. You're
yes.
talking about her. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it wasn't plant-based news. They were just reporting on it. I was thinking about doing a video about it as well. I think it was like Reason TV that hosted this debate. Yeah, it's funny how she tried to set the terms of the debate. Like he would present all these studies, and she said, "Well, science is good, but those studies you present, I don't like. So therefore, they're no good. You can't present them because I personally don't like them."
And you know what the irony there was, is she kept saying you have to be careful about appeals to authority, and then she turned around and went, but I'm the authority.
That declares if a study is acceptable or not, and it's not she was turning them down or rejecting them because they were like industry funded studies or anything like that. She just had just didn't like the conclusions. Tried to say the methodology was flawed without giving exact reasons as to why. But yeah, I saw that. Yeah, he presented study after study after study, just like on Joe Rogan. Did you see that crazy debate with Dr. Joel Kahn and Chris Kresser? I did a few video responses about that insanity.
Well, actually, Ryan, I did a podcast all about your response.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I
saw that actually. Yeah, I did see that a bit ago. Yeah. I definitely remember seeing that, yeah.
Because I was going to respond. I didn't know who Chris Kresser was, and I really don't care. I try not to follow online sort of personalities because it makes me want to put a bullet in my head. But I remember as soon as I looked at his website, it was just like, oh, as soon as I saw all the supplements for sale and all the combinations of supplements for sale, I'm from that world, so
Yeah.
I know what that means. So
It's just so ironic because the whole time he's talking about how vegan diets are. He said, here's this quote almost: vegan diet can be healthy, but you have to do it perfectly to safeguard against all the various myriad of nutritional deficiencies that are inherent in the vegan diet. Yet you go to his website, which he talks about, his whole diet is based on nutrient density. So you're getting as many nutrients as possible. Yeah, he sells more nutritional supplements than I can count. I mean, so you can't have it both ways. You can't have the most nutrient-rich diet in the world, yet have all these things you have to safeguard against. Just be vegan then, if you're worried about that.
And that's when you know there's a hidden agenda, right? Which I've talked about for years and years and years because I'm from that world, right? And anyway, I don't want to get into that. That'll take us off course. But you handled that brilliantly. I was going to do a whole podcast on it, but since you did it, I just kind of floated off of yours. But it's amazing people can't see that hidden agenda. Same with Dr. Lectin, I call him. Selling a myriad of supplements because lectins are going to kill us and all the rest of it. And again, that hidden agenda, and yet when I looked at his social media feed, he gets more traffic than Dr. Greger does. So
wow.
It's still mind-boggling that we started opening this with I'm going to get into why I wanted you on the show anyway. So we're going to right into other people right now, which I don't like doing, but the lack of authenticity, I think. Don't you agree? And one of the ones that primary stand out in terms of this debate has to be Joe Rogan, because why does he never have like someone of Dr. Greger's stature on his show, but he had that lady, what's her name that you just mentioned,
he had Nina Teichol's on there before,
yeah, and Chris Kresser and the rest of them. But
he's been on, multiple times. Yeah, he rarely has vegan authorities on. He had Russell Brand on because he's a popular actor that happens to be vegan. But yeah, the whole time Joe's saying, yeah, when are you going to quit that crappy vegan diet of yours? And didn't give any good reasons as to why. I mean, look at them. They're about they're 6 years apart in age. Russell being the younger one, he looks amazing. And Joe's trying to say the vegan diet's deficient, and yet, Rogan, I know, supplements with things. Brand doesn't, as far as I know. Not to say supplements are bad or anything like that. I'm just saying, if it's so horribly deficient of a diet, it's like you think Brand would look pretty horrible and be weak and feeble, as Joe paints out. That's the reason why Joe said he doesn't like vegan diet. He said they're too weak. The athletes that he sees in the boxing or wrestling world or that are vegan are just, they can't train properly, which is a joke.
And I didn't notice a difference when I switched over. I didn't notice a difference at all. So being post age 50, and I'm 58 in 2 months, you would think if there was going to be some kind of like drop off in performance and energy and all the rest of it, then someone who's pushing 60 is going to feel that more than someone who's in their 40s. But I just find it disingenuous of these people that they won't have top tier experts on for the other side of the argument, but they'll continue having the same propagandist sort of message coming on over and over again. I think
Joe has this confirmation bias. I think he believes that by having Dr. Khan, who was a vegan, on debating Kresser, who's not a vegan, I think Joe feels he did his due diligence. He heard the vegan doctor's arguments, was not convinced, and will therefore remain, anti-vegan forever.
Yeah, no, and I don't know. Do you watch Game of Thrones?
No,
Okay, so
make a reference though for your audience for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I presented this to everyone I've had on. So I follow a lot of I'm a media junkie. So Game of Thrones but I follow most of that stuff for the writing. I'm fascinated with the talent of writing. Uh-huh. So I watch these shows. Anyway, there's 3 times throughout the series in Game of Thrones, they use the expression belief is the enemy of reason, or belief is the death of reason. So and I presented that to T. Colin Campbell and Dr. Angie, and on how that influence, how it's so relevant to the discussion of nutrition, that when you have someone who's under the power of belief, as in religion, that's why I love the way you used that term agnostic earlier. They can't be thwarted by evidence. The evidence suddenly is superficial or doesn't matter, or even worse, kill the messenger. So, how relevant do you think that line is? Belief is the enemy of reason. How often have you experienced that, seen that, whatever?
Oh yeah, I agree. That's a great way to summarize what's happening. Yeah.
I want to go back to what you've experienced recently, and I went through a lot of that back in the day when in the dinosaur era when there was no social media. I was in the magazines. I was naive when the first feature article was ever written on me. I was under a naive impression that, well, now all the people that don't like me, they'll find out what I'm about because this is a feature article, and that'll change their opinion. And the first valuable lesson I learned about people in this regard was the people who liked me read that article and it reinforced their opinion of why they liked me. But the people who read that same article, exact same words, exact same sentences, who didn't like me, read that article and it reinforced their reasons why they didn't like me. Oh. So, so convincing people, especially in the era of social media, is really kind of like a loser's game, right? One of the things I presented to Dr. Greger, I noticed when he was on Mike the Vegan's podcast, he said, we got to get rid of this guruism and stuff like that. And I said, Dr. Greger, I agree with you that guru is a 4-letter word, but that ship has sailed. Like we live now in the cult of personality online, the Joe Rogans and whatever. So, yeah. There's an old saying, if you can't beat them, lead them. So, that's, I think, sort of get on board in the leadership roles. And I think that's what a lot of authentic people are doing, which is why I want to give attention to yourself. And if I can get access to Mike the Vegan, him as well, like just really good people who are authentic in what they present, and they do so with credible evidence. So on that note, there's also a field, if you look at marketing research in the era of social media, one of the ways they say to grab an audience, target an audience, is just be contrarian, right? So if the going cultural milieu says white, then you say black. If it says up, then you say down. If it sees ugly, you say beauty, and I think that's a lot of the blowback in a lot of this sort of anti-vegan thing, is just people trying to drive traffic, or there's people who used to be vegan who no longer are, but they're using it as a tactic because they make their living online in social media, and other people are too stupid to recognize that they're being had by someone who's just trying to use social media algorithms to keep money coming in. Do you have any comments on this?
They just make stuff up. I mean, yeah, I've done. I don't like to do too many episodes on these anti-vegans, particularly what I like to call the recent former vegans, the ones that have become anti-vegans, claiming the vegan diet failed them. And they were doing weird stuff. Most all these guys that failed.
Oh my God, do they do weird stuff?
Yeah, I mean, they weren't eating like a sensible, balanced vegan diet. I don't want to get into all the weird like fasting and raw fruitarianism that most of these recent former vegans were doing. And then they blamed veganism.
Beyond that, let's sit down and have a toast while we drink our own urine.
Yeah, I didn't even get to urine drinking and what's it called? Urine therapy makes it sound more legit. Sun gazing. It goes on. It's like, no, you guys were doing weird, trendy, breatharianism, like fringe woo-woo diets. I mean, nothing in the definition of veganism says that you need to fast for 35 days and drink other people's urine and stuff like that. I mean, I rarely see people who quit that were eating balanced, sensible vegan diets, just ate, regularly, not starving themselves. Yeah, then they say that veganism failed them. Like, no, your weird way of being vegan. I don't even think they were vegan. They're just accidentally vegan. They're just following trendy diets, and they just hopped onto the newer trends now. And it's trendy to bash vegans as they claim it failed them. I mean, and I've been vegan most longer. I think every one of these guys that have quit in the past year or so. I mean, and I'm older than them too. So how come I'm not experiencing all these horrible health issues that they claim? And it's funny how they say like vegans can't gain muscle. They're saying I'm like completely degenerating. I've lost all muscle. It's like, no, it's actually right now at age 51, I have like more muscle on my body than at any point ever in my life. Pre-vegan, any point. It's because of how I am training. It has really little to do with being vegan or not. They'll just make anything up. And it has truth is irrelevant. As long as they say it and it sounds good, that's all that matters to them. Truth is irrelevant.
Are you familiar with the textbook Modern Nutrition and Health and Disease?
Who's that by? Or is it...
I'm going to hold it up to you. Can you see that? Oh.
Yeah, I can see it just fine. Yeah. No, I don't know that book. No.
Okay, so it's cool. It's 3,000 pages. I've read it twice. So the latest edition is 2012. But the reason I bring this up, Ryan, is 3,000 pages. It's loaded with research, of course, but there's a whole section in it about veganism and the kind of people attracted to it who have very specific disorders of the mind, right? So they're attracted to food by limitation. So they're attracted to, and I see this all the time with people with body image dysmorphia, right? They want to focus on diets that tell them what they can't eat, not diets on what they can eat. So one of these ex-vegans, who I know who you're referring to, so he
has body dysmorphia too, I should add. Yeah, but anyway, yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I tracked the previous social media from way back when that person was raving about being vegan, and it was 3 hours of my life I'll never get back. But what you saw was the complete circle. Everything this person said, all the problems they had that veganism solved, all of a sudden, when they came full circle, they had all these supposed problems again that vegan caused, right? Yeah. So at one point, it was the solution to all their digestive issues, and then at the end point, it was the cause of all their digestive issues, to the point where the circular tautological logic they use is so ridiculous. Like, I don't know if you saw the one point where she says she had one meal of fish and her digestive issues are cured. And I said to a friend of mine when I was tracking down this argument, I said, that's like me saying I took 2 Tylenols for a headache and now I'll never have a headache again. Like, it's so ridiculous in logic that it only attracts other people of ridiculous logic nature.
Yeah, you're right. Most all these people have diets that were really restrictive, and I like to describe veganism, just eating plants. It's like it's not a restrictive diet. Such a broad, diverse array of plants and foods. It's crazy. Yeah, you can design a restrictive vegan or non-vegan diet if that's what your psychology is attracted to. But there's nothing restrictive about veganism. Just don't eat animal products. It's not that much stuff to avoid, and the whole rest of the world of plant foods is yours.
You know what? 10 years ago, there was a so-called pre-contest especially for women, pre-contest prep guru in the physique world for women competing, and his diet caused more digestive issue. It was basically tilapia and green beans 5 times a day. So
that's pretty restrictive.
That's pretty restrictive. So to say that the vegan diet is restrict, again, it lacks context. Like, compared to what? Compared to who? Compared to what goal? Compared to what are you doing? How are you doing it? And I gotta say, the reason I call my podcast The Smarter Sculpted Physique is I won't argue with idiots, but I think part of that is getting to some of the stuff I've watched that you've had to answer to lately, or you haven't had to answer to lately. You've chosen to answer to lately, and I've found the same thing in other elements where I've always said it's hard to take the high road with low people. But
It is, yeah.
yeah, and there's a great Mark Twain quote that I wanted to share with you because I was outraged by the ad hominem attack that especially the one about going bald. I mean, that's hilarious.
I mean, look
I
at
mean,
my hair, guys. I'm 51. Look at this.
but and look, I have
I'm
a
doing
full
all
head of hair
right.
too if I wanted. But the funny thing about that person is what
She
like
had a wig on, I think.
and she's in like her mid-20s. So wait, and she said, "Oh, she wouldn't want to look like you and this and that." It's just like, well, wait till she's 51. She'll damn well wish she could follow, what you're doing and wish she could look like you. Trust me. But Mark Twain said, "Never argue with stupid people because one, they'll drag you down to their level, and then two, they'll beat you with experience." So,
I forgot the second part. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, that one who said that about it was funny because right after you did that podcast, and everybody, if you're listening, go to Ryan, Happy Healthy Vegan, and watch some of his YouTube clips. They're great, and they're just objective. Anyway, blah blah blah.
Yeah, the video you're talking about is veganism. Vegan diet made me bald and lose my eyebrows.
And it wasn't just you. I mean, she went after
Her
my
whole channel is dedicated. I don't want to mention her channel's name, but each video is dedicated to attacking either a specific vegan or a group of vegans, and she'll just pick whatever random thing. She picked on this certain female vegan YouTuber who happens to be pale. She doesn't go out in the sun ever, and this anti-vegan made a whole video about how vegan diets make you pale. Well, it's just because she doesn't go out in the sun.
So if you're Irish ginger, then somehow it's just, I mean, her logic. I was watching that video that you did, and I had no idea who this moron is. But again, that's that appeal to the contrarian point of view to get likes, right? But anyway,
yeah, how does having a suntan make any difference? Like, how does that relate to your diet, and how does that relate to health? It relates to your willingness to go out into the sun.
Insanity. When I watched your response to that, and again, I didn't know who this moron is. So, but right after I watched that, I was watching one of my sports commentary shows that I watch, and they were showing Tiger Woods, and he took off his golf cap, and of course, he's going bald. So, by the logic she was using, playing golf causes baldness. So you shouldn't play golf because look at Tiger Woods, he's going bald. This was the kind of lack of complete,
This is the stupid that Mark Twain is talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, and I think people are like, oh well, you can't say this, you can't say that, and I say, look, if 90% of what someone puts on social media is moronic, then it's fair to call that person a moron. Right. So you are the result of the content that you put out. And I think, the saying, turn the other cheek until you run out of cheeks. I think you've done an excellent job with that. So I think you've picked, like you said, this person was picking on other people, too, who maybe couldn't defend themselves as well as you do with research, etc. So I think you've done a really good job of showing the idiocy that exists out there, but doing it in a way that's just like, look, what does one have to do with the other, and that kind of thing. And the other quote, the Mark Twain quote, is one side of the argument I want to present to you, but the other side is something a little more ephemeral, a little more spiritual, by Gandhi. It said, be the change that you want to see in the world. And I think you and Angie are doing a fantastic job of that. I just wanted to I didn't want to end this without remembering to put that in there. So, because I think the example you guys set and the way you said it and the way you live it, I think is exemplary. And that's another reason that I wanted to have you on, because it doesn't matter to me if my particular audience wants to transition to a whole food plant-based diet yet, but they need to expose themselves to authentic people doing authentic work who are good, reliable, responsible change agents. And I think you're doing that in a fantastic way. So, yeah. I just want.
Thanks. Yeah, no, going vegan's one of the best decisions I've ever made. No regrets. You're never going to see me make a video next year. Oh, I started eating fish or whatever crap like that. I mean, but yeah, we, like I said, we don't put ourselves out there as experts or anything
but
like
you are.
that.
I mean, come on, you are.
We are of sorts, but we really, our goal, I think our primary goal of our channel, Happy Healthy Vegans, is to show just how easy, fun, normal being vegan is. It's not some weird hippie thing, or you have to learn all this weird stuff. I mean, you have to learn a few little things, but it's just like anything in life. But we're just showing how it's not weird. It's just super easy to do. It's cheap. It's fun. It's very social. We have seriously more friends now than ever before. In fact, my just been getting kind of tired. Our social schedule's been so booked up lately, going to vegan festivals, vegan friends visiting from out of town, just always something happening. I've had stuff going on for the past 4 days. I just need some time to get some work done and get to the gym and stuff like that. So yeah, there's nothing bad to say about being vegan. And so we try to show how fun and simple and great it is, while at the same time, since I studied philosophy in college, so I use those critical thinking skills to basically just tear through the crappy logic that I see coming out from not only from these anti-vegans like we've been talking about, but mainstream media like Joe Rogan, but newspapers, just big major press, so I see it all the time. Just stories that just paint veganism in some bullcrap light, just making stuff up or just using just bad stereotypes like vegans don't get protein, whatever, just going through and trying to set the record straight. So when your uncle or boyfriend or whoever forwards you this story, so I told you veganism is going to kill you, you can forward them back my video and show them that article's logic holds no water. It's just full of holes.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and like that so-called debate that we referred to earlier. I mean, that full of holes thing was pretty plain to see in that particular environment. But philosophically, you bring up another good point that I've discussed in almost all my books that are about metabolism and nutrition, and that is laid out specifically in this modern nutrition and health and disease. And that's what I call the North American diet mentality, but I referred to it as the North American diet mentality madness. What you just said earlier philosophically relates to, I see a difference in the approach to food. Now, I've done a lot of books on eating disorders and stuff as well, so you're probably not as well versed in that, but there's a few doctors that I don't know if you... Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but you just mentioned a great thing, that a diet mentality should be inclusive, not exclusive. And the people who choose a diet based upon exclusivity, what you can't eat, are actually already going against the hardwiring of our brains, because we have a mammalian brain. We are hardwired to see food, seek food, and eat food. We're not hardwired to
avoid perfectly healthy food.
Yeah, we're not hardwired for that. So they're already going against themselves. There was a study done a long time ago that I used in a couple of my books, where they questioned people on traditional French people versus North American people, and they asked them for the first word that pops into their mind when they hear such and such a word. So the response to the word birthday cake, or I think it was chocolate cake, the French responded to the word cake with the word celebration. North Americans responded to the word cake with the word guilt. So we have this whole sort of underlying foundation of nutritionism, where the North American diet mentality is focused all on, what's going to make you sick and what to avoid and what not to eat, and, what you should limit and what you should cut out. And that's not how our minds evolved in terms of survival of the fittest. You're trying to put software to counteract the hardware that we evolved to sort of be indulgent and be inclusive, like you said, which is a very, very important element of any kind of diet psychology approach, is that if it's not inclusive, then you're already going to be working against your own better sound judgment. So I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Yeah, we're into whole food plants like you. But we're not against the idea of having some occasional like vegan pizza or something like that. I think it's mentally healthy to know that as a vegan, you haven't really given up anything,
Exactly. Yeah. especially in this day and age. I mean, oh
2019. There's such great, if you want to, you can have vegan ice cream, vegan cheese, and they taste not only pretty good, they taste great. Like Ben and Jerry's has their whole dairy-free line, and it's awesome. They re-engineered like Chunky Monkey, Cherry Garcia. They have new flavors. Nadamu's one of my other favorite vegan ice cream companies. The whole new flavors of their own. I mean, yeah, everything going on with Beyond Meat and all that. I mean, there's just nothing. There's nothing to give up as a vegan. People think, how do you resist? If I want a burger, I can get a damn tasty vegan burger, no problem. Go to any of the local fast food places that are carrying it. Go down to the market and buy some. It's not a restrictive or sad, lonely diet. Like I said, there's so many foods you can eat, especially if you open yourself up to some of these processed foods, which I am not promoting. I'm just saying it might be healthy to have them once in a blue moon, just to go out and party one night with your friends. And get your friends turned on to the vegan burgers instead of them dragging you to some place where there's death on a plate. Take them to a vegan place and get some vegan burgers. I'm sure if you're out drinking, they'll love the vegan burgers.
And the Beyond Meat is everywhere now. I mean, we were just at a restaurant down at Lakefront the other day, and they had like Beyond Meat tacos and Beyond Meat double burger, and it's just getting better and better and better, right? So I mean, but yeah, we have to be more inclusive in our thinking, rather than thinking that a diet works based on how restrictive it is already sort of counterintuitive logic, right? But
and hopefully your friends will get turned on. You show them how great these foods are. They go, oh, maybe for someone it'll click like it did for me. Like, oh, why would I want to choose the burger that involves killing cows when I could just get the burger that involves like mung beans and peas and stuff like that?
After a while, you just I talked about this in the last book I did with Lean Without Trying, is that after a while you forget the comparison that you started doing, right? You forget comparing almond milk to dairy milk. You forget comparing Beyond Meat burgers to cow burgers. It just leaves your mind. You don't have that. Your taste buds adopt, and it's not something that you're like, oh, but it doesn't taste like this, because you no longer remember what that tasted like anyway. So it's not like a huge deal. It's actually a lot easier. But for physique after 50 people of our age, and again, I'm about, I'm closer to approaching sexy at 60, but the benefits. I just find it ridiculous that people our age are going to be walking around with apps that tell them, how many calories to eat and when to eat them and all the rest. I mean, like at age 50, seriously, that's what you want to be renting space in your head? Like, I mean, there's better, more productive, constructive things to share and think about and offer of yourself than to be weighed down with mathematical formulas that make no sense. So I'll get you a final thought on that, and I'm keeping you way too long.
That sounds kind of frightening. If the apps are telling them like how many calories to eat and what to eat, like wondering who's programming these apps, what kind of like dietary biases are they bringing? I'm sure they might be, if it's North American, there's carb fearing diet plans or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I gotta say, like, I never count calories or anything like that. I have a really healthy eating psychology. It's really basic. It works for most people. You eat till you're full, more or less. Don't stuff it in or anything crazy like that. Just eat, and I stop, and then I'll have usually like 3 meals a day, like a regular thing. It's so simple. It's so easy, and yeah, I'm not obese. My BMI, I think I just measured it, was 23.2 or something like that, on the high end of healthy. I'm 6'4", 193 pounds. It's not, you don't have to do all this stuff like Chris Christensen. You have to do it perfectly. I don't even know what perfectly means. I don't do anything odd. I don't count anything. I don't count.
One of the major indicators of an eating disorder is when they consistently involve the word perfection.
Oh yeah. We're totally against the concepts of perfection, purity, these things. The people that are into perfection and purity are the people who are no longer vegan, because they're doing weird stuff to try to get perfect and pure.
but somehow it was perfect to drink urine, and that makes sense. But and
that's fine. That doesn't cause any health issues, doesn't mess up your gut, it doesn't give infections or anything like that. No, it's eating plants, eating eggplant and peas and beans and potatoes. That's what's going to make you sick, right?
Yeah. and I got people following apps who are they go to bed at 10 o'clock at night, but they're up at midnight walking stairs because their app tells them they haven't had their 5,000 steps. Like it's just, and what you're talking about is what I've been preaching even before I went plant-based, but that is trusting in the wisdom of the body. And like I said to Michael Greger, we're starting in North America to try to teach people that our bodies are completely stupid, and without us programming them, they don't know what to do. Like, and it's actually the other way around. Our bodies are pretty damn wise, and if we put the right things in them, if we treat our bodies well, our bodies will treat us well in return. This isn't, it's not rocket science, right?
100%. Yeah, eat well. Get some movement in. Don't be sedentary. I mean, that's the basic foundation right there to set yourself up for good health and to, our 50s and plus. Yeah.
Well, Ryan, I mean, shit, I could talk to you forever. But...
I could talk forever too. Yeah. Want to talk some more about like my training and fitness and basketball and dunking? We can go in more detail on that sometime in the future. I'll talk all day about that kind of stuff. But I'm glad to talk about veganism though, because that's really why we started our channel, not to show off our physical prowess or anything like that. It's just cool to be able to show that that being vegan doesn't limit you physically in any way. Some of the strongest people in the world are vegans. Some of the best athletes in the world are vegan, but you don't have to be any of those. You can just be a regular person eating plants and be healthy and fit and everything. Just want to show veganism does not limit you.
For my audience, my argument is the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So my audience is mostly into physique transformation and/or weight loss. And the shortest distance between 2 points being a straight line is the whole food plant-based diet. There's no two ways about it. I mean, when I had Dr. Angie on the show and she showed her before and after pictures.
Oh, yeah. Amazing.
I mean, right? Isn't that amazing? Right. But I want to have you back on. I should hook you up too with my colleague. I don't know if you know who Juan Carlos Santana is, but in terms of dunking and basketball, he's all about strength transfer. He trains a lot of the professional athletes and stuff over at IHP, Institute of Human Performance in Florida. You can look him up.
Wow, that sounds like it'd be a great person to have a conversation with for what I'm doing.
And man, is he magnetic. He travels a lot this time of year in Latin America and China doing his certifications and stuff. But if you, reach out to him and tell him I sent you, he could probably, he'd be pretty cool guy to like touch base with about your training.
That'd be great, because it's really hard to find people that understand the kind of training I'm doing. I see tons of people at the gym. No one is doing the specific kinds of training I'm doing plyometrics and strength and jumping. It's just a weird set of techniques I'm pulling all together here for a very specific skill. So it's cool to know someone that really knows their a professional trainer like that has worked with athletes that are working towards those kinds of goals. But I'm a freak at the gym. People trip out on me all the time. The basketball players trip out on me. The weightlifters trip out on me. I'm a little bit of both, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah, that's awesome then. And So what do you since we're talking basketball, what do you think? We the North.
Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, that was well deserved. Yeah, you have true champions there in the Raptors. Yeah, that was a fun series to watch.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'm not even, I'm not heavily into it, but our whole country sure did like rally around. So that was pretty cool to see too. So
yeah, if the Warriors had won again, it's like, oh, cool, we got a 3-peat or 4-peat or whatever. Same old, same old. But it was great to see a team that had never won a championship before win their first one. That was cool.
Yeah, it certainly rallied a nation in a good way. So
and the Raptors played amazing basketball. Yeah, there were lots of injuries on the Warriors side, devastating injuries that are going to keep two of their best players out for pretty much all next season. But the Raptors played well. All their role players stepped up. Kawhi Leonard played like a champion. It was well deserved, and I'm very happy for them. And I heard some street rumor that now Kawhi might be interested in coming to the Lakers, so we'll see how that goes on.
Yes, well, we'll see. And so we're going to put all the links that you want us to put in our show notes and throughout this video podcast. And I'll put it on YouTube for my fans to see as well. But we'll definitely get that one of you dunking the ball. And definitely want to have you back if you're interested. And
Yeah, for sure.
again,
I could talk about veganism and fitness all day, anytime. So yeah.
all right. Well, it was tremendous having you. I've been, like I said, watching you guys for a long time now, and I want to give more attention to authentic people who are, doing reliable, good work, and that's you guys to a T. So,
Cool.
like,
Thanks. Yeah,
yeah,
come check us out. Please do. Yeah, we're not like some weird vegan channel or anything like that. Just a lot of our videos are just like what we're doing in a day, vlogs. You can see what we're doing. Some of it is eating vegan food. Other of it, just we're going out and just being regular people. Other ones are more science based. So we kind of have a broad spectrum of types of videos. So there's probably something there you're interested in. Hopefully.
it's all good. Happy Healthy Vegan on YouTube
And Instagram too.
and Instagram. Yeah, Ryan, thanks for being with us, and we look forward to having you back next time.
Cool. Thanks, Scott.
All right, cheers, man.